Hey everybody, this is Jeff from the Your Move team, and we want to remind you that we have a free DVD for the first 2,000 of our podcast listeners that respond. And while that seems like a lot, we have over 250,000 listeners every month, so you're going to have to hustle. Go to yourmove.is/WinGod to get your free unabridged DVD of Andy's series, Win God. This offer ends in October 2013, but since it's free, supplies probably won't last. So visit yourmove.is/WinGod right away to get your free copy. We really do believe that the next 30 minutes will help you make better decisions and live with fewer regrets. So today, we're going to begin with Andy's first message in his 4-part series, The New Rules of Love, Sex, and Dating. When I meet the right person, everything will be all right. You ever heard that before? This way of thinking creates trouble in our dating lives and in our marriages. In this series, Andy challenges us to ask, am I the person I'm looking for is looking for?
Well, I'm so glad you could join us today for this brand new series, The New Rules for Love, Sex, and Dating. And if you are new to our church, you need to understand what we do is we take a topic and we talk about it for 3 or 4 weeks, and then we move on to something else. Today is a brand new series, and I hope that you'll be here for the whole thing. First, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want you to have great relationships. I want this for you more than you can ever know. I want those of you who are married to have extraordinary marriages. I want those of you who are thinking about marriage to have extraordinary marriages. I want those of you who've given up on marriage to give up on having given up on marriage, because marriage can be awesome. Kids can be awesome. Even teenagers can be awesome. And all the things you've seen, all the bad things you've seen in society, maybe the family you grew up with, it kind of jaded you away from, an ongoing permanent relationship. I want to change your mind. Now, let me tell you who this is for. This is for anybody who's dating, whether you're 15 or 50. This is for anybody who's thinking they might want to get married or remarried, or just, wherever you are. If you're living together, and you're like, hey, I really want this living together thing to become a marriage, you need to come to this series. Even if your partner's like, no, I just like the living together. It's good. It's the best of both worlds. You need to come. You need to bring him. You need to bring her. This is for anybody that just thinks one day, someday, I would like for there to be a permanent one-on-one relationship that actually works, that actually is happy, that actually makes me look forward to him or her coming home in the afternoon. Now, let me tell you who maybe this isn't for. If you're like a recreational dater, okay, I don't know what you call it, really. I asked some people, what's the term? And nobody had one. In other words, you're just kind of living the life, doing whatever with whoever, trying to get everybody to drink a little bit too much, waking up feeling like crap, going out and doing it all again, and you're just kind of living the life, kind of doing the thing, and you don't really have any standards. It's just fun, and right now you're at a stage of life where you got enough money, where you can got some money to waste, and you're like so not into commitment. In fact, when anybody wants to have a define the relationship discussion, you just stop them and say, you just defined the relationship. It's over, okay? I'm not into defining it. In fact, any conversation that's even about the relationship, I am out of here, okay? So if you're like in that stage of life, and I mean marriage, are you kidding? I mean, you're just either you've done that and you're done with it, or you're too young and that's way in the future, and you're thinking, let me just tell you this. You may not love this series now, but I would plead with you, and we don't push product, I would plead with you when this is done to buy a copy and put it in a drawer. Because one day, hopefully, and maybe I'll convince you in the next few weeks, hopefully you will see a permanent, relationship as a good thing and something to embrace. Then you can pull this out and listen to it, and it may make more sense, and it may be more interesting. And then one more thing about that group of you who's like, I'm not married. Are you kidding? Let me say one more thing that you need to know that married people didn't know. All of life is connected. Everything's connected. And you carry yourself with you wherever you go, and you carry that pesky past. So here's my warning if you're not really interested in this series, and I get that. What you're doing right now, okay, eventually will be your past, and your past is going to show up in your future. Now, sometimes I'm accused of not being a deep preacher. This is generally by theologically astute people and deep preacher types, and some people who like deep sermons. And the reason they don't think I'm a deep preacher is because I'm clear. Okay? Now, and here's why. I don't want to ever get up here and just Greek and Hebrew you to death to where you go home and say, Andy is so smart. You know how I know he is smart? Because I didn't understand him. Okay, I don't do that. I don't even like that. So, but I know some of you like deep things. So last night as I was trying to get ready to, how do we launch this topic, I thought, you know what? I don't want to lose the people who are looking for something deep. So I came up with a somewhat confusing statement that I want to give you, and some of you will confuse this for depth, and it'll make you more interested in what I have to say, okay? So here's deep. You ready for deep? Here we go. Here's deep. The present will be your past, which will be present in your future. Okay? This is deep, so we're going to have to go slow, okay? And if you're confused, just go, he's so smart. I didn't understand that, okay? I want to go over it one more time. The present, whatever you're doing now in terms of your current present relationships, will be your past. One day you'll look back on this season of your life. One day, this year will be in the past, which will be present, that is this right now, which will be in your past, will be present in your future. So my point is this, what you're doing right now, even though settling down and finding that one person, even though that's the furthest thing from your mind, you need to understand, now you've heard it, now you're accountable, now you're responsible, now you can make better decisions. Right now will be your past, but it's going to show up in your future. Now, let me tell you why I say that. I've been in ministry, forever. My dad's a pastor. I've been, he'd come home and tell us horror stories about things he'd heard. I do that too. I find the juiciest, most out there emails. I scratch out the names and I bring them home for dinner. I do. And I say, hey, kids, listen to this one. And I read your emails to my kids. I do. I say, wow, sin will mess you up, won't it? It's like, whoa, So I appreciate the stories, okay? I use them as teaching moments for my children. Seriously, I do, okay? So I don't use your name normally, okay? So here's my experience. Here's my experience. In all these years, and I have met with dozens, probably hundreds of couples, premarital couples living together, couples trying to figure it out, couples going through difficult times in marriage. Singles, you need to know this. I've never met with a couple who had marriage problems. I've met with people who had problem marriages, but I've never talked to a couple who had a marriage problem. What I've discovered is individuals with problems get married. Okay, let me say this again. This is deep too. Individuals with problems that began when they were single. People with problems get married, and then they get married and they have problems and they go, oh, we have a marriage problem. I go, no, you had problems that you brought into a marriage because you thought, like most married people, when you said, hey, let's have a wedding and a clean break, and I say I do, we take a bunch of vows, the past is the past and we're moving on, and oh my gosh, your pesky past has shown up to make a mess out of your beautiful future. Now, here's why married people did this. And singles, I'm telling you, this is going to help you. Even if you're not interested, this is going to help you. Because most married people that you're sitting around and most of the married people that you knew, they bought into a myth. It's a myth that you are possibly buying into right now as well. It is a myth that is popularized in all music, all stories, all novels, and all movies. And I don't think that's bad. Because it's this myth that makes music and stories and TV and movies interesting, okay? So I'm not saying that's bad, but it's a myth. And the myth is called the right person myth. The right person myth. The right person myth says this: if I marry the right person, everything will be all right. If I meet, or when I meet the right person, everything will be all right. But what the married people around you didn't know is that when they met the right person was thinking the same thing. They were thinking, when I meet the right person, everything's going to be all right. So here's what happens, single people. Joe, meets Susie, and Joe's going, whoo, she's the right person, and she's going, oh, he's the right person. And single people, do you know how married people knew they had met the right person? Do you know how they knew it? Chemistry. It's like, oh, I can't quit thinking about it. And I can't keep my eyes off of her, or other things. It's just chemistry, okay? Okay? Now, you can handle this discussion, can't you, okay? All right, here we go. So here's what happened, married single people. Married people, it's like, oh, he's the right person. Oh, she's the right person. And they decided he or she's the right person based on chemistry. I mean, we sat and talked for hours, and, we just looked at each other's eyes. There was just chemistry. All of a sudden, I've just met the right person. And then they began allowing their affection and their romance to kind of go down a road because after all, you don't want to buy a car without test driving it first, right? You know what I'm talking about? You don't want to buy a pair of shoes without trying them on first, right? So, they spent a few nights together, maybe moved in together for a while, and there's just chemistry, it's electric, it's just, and single people, here's what married people thought. They're so naive. They thought what we have is unique. No one has ever loved this deeply before. I'm telling you, not our parents, certainly not our parents, not my brothers and sisters. I'm telling you, what we got it, baby. This is like so unique, and there was just chemistry. But when two people who are looking for the right person get together and they realize, there's a lot of chemistry, but there's not a lot of anything else. And single people, you need to know this, within months sometimes within a couple of years, these two people where there was all this passion and chemistry, they're married now and they're looking at each other. And guess what starts to dwindle? The chemistry. And then one of them gets a really bright idea, usually the woman. The woman decides, I know how to fix this bad relationship. We'll have a what? A baby. Oh, that's brilliant. Let's bring a new person into a bad relationship, and somehow that will make a bad relationship a better relationship. And the guy's like, well, we have to have sex to do that, so I guess we can move ahead, at least. So then this relationship that's already bad, they bring another. Now, the single people, I'm telling you all this, let me tell you why the married people are laughing so nervously. Because this is a bunch of their story, and this is what they're thinking. They're thinking, how does he know? And here's why you're wondering, how do I know? Because you're thinking, our relationship, our situation is so unique. No, it's not. Andy, how do you know what's going on in my life? Because your life's kind of like everybody else's life. Single people, you don't want to do that. And the good news is you don't have to do that. But the only way not to do that is to decide I'm not going to buy into the right person myth. And so as we begin our discussion, I want to start bending your thinking and bending your mind in a different direction. Because it's not about finding the right person. It is about becoming the right person. And this is the tension that you're going to live with in your relationships. Finding the right person versus becoming the right person. Finding the right person versus becoming the right person. Everything in our culture, everything in your culture says, if you find him, everything will be all right. There is no evidence to support that. Find the happiest married person you know and ask them what they think about find the right person myth. And they will say, that ain't how it works. And as long as you're dating looking for the right person, or even if you're married looking for the right person, it is a fruitless pursuit. It is a futile pursuit because that's not how it was designed to work. This was so well illustrated for me while I was putting this series together. Several things I did. I read a lot of emails. People started sending me articles. I talked to lots of people. I listened to a lot of people. I just looked at a lot of research. And one of the things I did, I met with about 9 or 12 single people of different stages of life. We met together in a focus group, and I just asked lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of questions. It's just about dating. Tell me dating in this culture, dating in our world. Come on, I want this series to be real. I don't want to just get there, talk. And so during that discussion, one young lady told this story that I think illustrates this point so well, and I think it gives us kind of a jumping off point in terms of what's next for you. She told this story. She said, she grew up in a moderately religious home, where she was kind of taught all the right things. Then after college, she moved to Atlanta and was living in Buckhead and just kind of immersed herself in dating the way culture says today. She said, it's not that I quit believing, and for singles, you understand this. She said, it's not like I had some theological epiphany like, well, Jesus isn't the Son of God, or the Bible isn't true. She said, it wasn't that. It was just, I decided that didn't matter at this stage in my life. At this stage of my life, I'm just going to live the life and just get out there, date like crazy, and hopefully find that guy, find that right person. And she said, I was in pretty deep just in that whole scene. She said, then one evening I was with a group of people, and there was a guy in the group I'd never met before, and we started talking, and she said, oh my gosh, he was the total package. She said, looks, the job, the car, the personality, just the whole thing. And he was a Christian, and he was evidently living out his Christian faith in the marketplace and living it out in his relationships. And he had standards, and there were things he wouldn't do. And she said it was just, it just sort of brought back up some of my own past, some of the things that I really used to believe and used to practice. But I sort of said, well, that doesn't really work in this culture, and that doesn't work during this stage of my life. And she said, and here's this guy who's like the whole package, and he's a Christian, and he's living out these values. And she said, I just found myself like, She said, so after that, a day or so later, she said, I was at home, and I was talking to my mom. She said, I was just going on and on and on about this guy, and he looked, and job, and just on and on and on. And she said, without warning, my mother turned to me, and she said, honey, the problem is a guy like that is not looking for a girl like you. She said, when my mom said that, she said, I literally, physically fell to the floor in a puddle of tears because I knew she was exactly right. And she said, that was a defining moment for me. That was when the change began. That's when I decided to do what all along I'd known in my heart I needed to do. That's when I decided, no matter how long it took, I was going to become the woman that a guy like that was looking for. And she said it was a total game changer for me. Singles, I'm hoping that a day like today, a series like this one, would so help you get your mind around this contrast, and so help you get your heart around this idea that from now on, as you continue to date, as you continue to meet new people, that your focus won't be hunting, and your focus won't simply be seeking, and your focus won't simply be meeting, but that your focus will be becoming the person that God has called you to be, and becoming the person that the person you're looking for is looking for. In fact, here's the question I want to leave with you today. Are you who the person you're looking for is looking for? Are you who? See, this is deep too. This is a pretty deep Sunday, isn't it? Are you who the person you're looking for is looking for? If the answer is no, then chances are you will never meet him or her, and if you met him or her, they would not like you. They would not be attracted to you. In fact, they may be repulsed by you and your behavior and your reputation. Because while you are single, while you are in between relationships, as you're recovering possibly from a divorce, this is the time of your life to become the who that the person who you're looking for is looking for. And you can do this. You can do this. Now, here's the thing. When you open the scripture, when you open the Bible, we're getting to that. When you open the scripture, you find very little help when it comes to the hunting part. You find very little help when it comes to the finding the right person part. But when you open the scripture and you ask the question, God, do you have anything to say in terms of what I should become? Oh my goodness, the pages of scripture are just wide open to you, because the Bible has much to say about how to become a person worth pursuing, how to become a person who is set up for relational success. And don't miss this, especially if you're not like a Bible or church person. The reason the Bible has so much to say about becoming that kind of person is because God created relationship, and he created you for relationship. But the key to great relationship isn't finding the right person. It's becoming the right person. And so you open the pages of scripture. In fact, if you've attended here for any time, or you've watched online for any time, this is the kind of stuff we talk about all the time. Of all the places in the scripture to begin our journey, I want to take us to the chapter that's typically known as the love chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Here's what Paul says about here's what you should become. Here's what love actually is. You ready? Love is, let's say it together, patient. Do you know what this means? It means that love is never, ever pushy. It means that when you go on a date, it means creating enough space for that other person to where they don't feel pressed by you for anything. And you need to practice that in every relationship, on every date. This will serve you well later. Let me tell you what married people thought. Married people thought, when I marry the right person, I won't ever have to be patient because they're the right person. And the person they married thought, I won't ever have to be patient because he's the right person. And then they got married and neither one of them had worked on this. And oh my gosh, she's so impatient, she's so pushy, she can't wait. He always, she always. It's because they never practiced. The chemistry was great. There was no patience. Guess what happened to the chemistry? Second word is this, love is patient. Love is, this one, kind. Do you know what kindness means? It means considerate. Love, listen, this is every day, every relationship. Love takes into consideration what the other person feels and what the other person desires. Love is kind. Love is considerate. Listen, guys, you had a bad day, and it's like the culture says you don't need to say anything. You never need to call her back. You just need to I know you said a bunch of stuff, and I'll call you, and we'll get together, but you didn't mean it. No, you need to call her back and say, you know what? I had a good time, but I don't think there's any future in this. You just need to be considerate. You go, well, I don't owe her that. It's not about her. It's about you learning to be considerate, kind. No, she's not in your future. No, he's not in your future. No, it wasn't a really good date. That's never an excuse not to be kind, because you are becoming something. It has less to do with what you think the other person deserves. He goes on, love is kind. Love does not envy. Do you know what envy? See, envy says, if I don't feel too good about myself, I can't let you feel very good about yourself. That's what envy does. This destroys marriages. I'm telling you, oh my gosh, we see this so much in marriage. Because the guy's insecure, she's insecure. If she's insecure, she can't let her husband win. Or if he's insecure, he can't let the wife win. It's just terrible. And you know what? Many of you are carrying this around in you right now. Right now. And the only way to get over it and the only way to discover it is to decide in every single dating relationship, I am going to let the other person blossom. I'm going to let the other person win. I'm going to let them tell a story, and I'm not going to one-up their story. I'm going to go, wow, a 3-pound bass. That's amazing. And you reeled it in all by yourself? That's absolutely incredible. You're not going to say, well, my dad's on a fishing show. You're just going to go, wow, 3-pound bass. That must have been extraordinary. Let me feel your muscles. Woo, See, envy says, I can let you win. I can just go, wow. Love does not boast. Next one. Love does not boast. It is not proud. Now, I know what you're thinking, okay? I know you're thinking, single people are going, okay, so far, this sounds like the most boring date in the world. Are you kidding? Like I'm going to pick her up, or he's going to pick me up, and we're like driving around being patient. I'm being patient. And then I'm going to be kind. And then I'm going to let, wow. I'm going to wow. It's like, are you kidding me? Kind, compassionate. I mean, this is a date. I just feel sorry for Sandra. Was this like, is this how you dated? Let me ask you a question. Then we'll move on. Let me ask you, those of you whose parents divorced when you were kids, do you think it would have made any difference if mom and dad had been more patient? Do you think it would have made any difference if your father had been extraordinarily considerate and your mom had been kind? Maybe so. Then he gets to the real deep one, and then we'll wrap this up. Love does not dishonor others. Love does not dishonor others. Let me say it this way. Love never does anything that creates regret for the other person, ever. Love never does anything to create regret for the other person. Love decides, I may be a lot of things, but I will not be a regret. Let me kind of flesh it out a little bit. Here's some other words that kind of tease this one out. Love does not behave disgracefully, dishonorably, indecently. Ladies, wouldn't it be great to go on a date and not have to worry how the night's going to end? Because you're looking at a guy and you get a sense, you know what, this guy would never do anything to create a regret for me. This guy I just get the sense that no matter what happens, nothing indecent will happen. I can trust This man, guys, I'm telling you, men, if you just got this one right, you would be in such a small category. I'm telling you, I've read the letters and the emails. Women don't think men do this anymore. Women in our culture think they gave up on that a long time ago. That's some kind of old-fashioned virtue or value. Social media has made it that way. Our entertainment has made it that way. The terms in our music that refer to women have made it that way. But somewhere out there's going to be a group of guys that rise up and say, you know what, I want to become something. I don't want to just do something or do somebody. I want to become something. I want to be somebody worth pursuing. And I'm going to practice every time I'm with a woman, I'm going to practice learning never, ever, ever to dishonor. I will not be someone's regret. That's a decision you make. That's a virtue that you embrace. It's a habit that you practice. The last one we're going to look at is this, and love is not self-seeking. Really? But Andy, that's the point of dating, isn't it? That's the point of your dating. That's the point of culture's dating. No wonder relationships don't last anymore. Because when you get two self-seeking people and put them in a relationship, they suck the life out of each other. And the romance is gone in an instant. The interesting thing about this whole passage, I want to read you the last verse, because this is what we're going to pick up next week. You should read your Bibles. The Bible is so amazing. Listen to how the Apostle Paul closes this entire discussion. You've probably heard this verse as well before. Here's what he says. When I was a child, I talked like a child. Okay? Thought like a child. Right? Like a child. Reasoned like a child. Right? I taught, I thought, and I reasoned like a child when I was a child. When I became a man, or when I became an adult. When I became an adult, I put the ways of childhood, say it with me, behind me. How does every childhood romance story end? What's the closing line? In childhood ways of thinking, if you can ever get the prince and the princess together and get rid of their ugly stepmother and stepsisters, then everything's just going to work out because they were right for each other. If we can just get rid of the overbearing father, if we can just get rid of the obstacles, if we can ever get these two people together, they're going to live happily. That's how children's stories end. That's how some of them end. You're thinking like a child. You're thinking like a culture that leverages those wonderful stories to entertain us, and that isn't going to change, and maybe that shouldn't change. But in real relationships, happily ever after has nothing to do with finding the right person. Happily ever after has everything to do with becoming the right person, becoming a person worth pursuing, becoming the person you're looking for is looking for. And that begins with shifting your time, shifting your thinking, shifting your affection, shifting your habits, and seeing every single relationship as an opportunity to practice becoming the person God wants you to be. Not because he's mad at you, not because he's trying to spoil your fun, but because he loves you. He created a relationship. He